Hello model railroaders, it's Dave, welcome back to the layout. Well, as mentioned, we're working on the logging run. I've got where you see it clamped is the riser going from 5 inches to 6 inches, clamped to the riser coming up to the 5-inch mark, and we'll let that set. And then we've got the other piece that's at the 6-inch mark here that I've moved off to the side to allow for the clamping. That will go from this point down, and we'll get that glued up and later on and clamped once this piece is set. But for the moment, as I mentioned in previous videos, I want to kind of level out the riser here that's coming up from 2.5 inches down at the end of the bench up to the 5-inch point here. And as mentioned, I'm going to be saying that a lot possibly. As mentioned in a previous video, I notched out that uneven bit and put in a spacer that once it's set up, and it's still a little flexible, I can see the adhesive still squishing a bit. Once that's set up, that'll get contoured down to the angle that it needs to be. So, what have I got going on here? Well, this is where I'm going to take the hot wire apparatus, which I've got sitting down here, and I'm going to run it along this J channel that I've clamped on each side, and I've got it predominantly level, at least level enough for my purposes, because I'm just wanting to get the big humps, as you can see here, by that edge of the J channel. Now that's seated all the way down to the bench, so I knew there was a step in the transition, but as you can see in this section right here, it has got a pretty good hump to it, and I want to get that all resolved so that it's nice and level. And that's really the only big long section. I've taken a look along here. There may be a couple places. Now I know I've got a low dip and a bit of an angle on that side, and there's a little bit here where it's a smidge high, but for the most part, pen cutting by I didn't do too bad of a job. But that big bump there probably could work out okay, but I want to give this a shot. So it's going to be a little interesting, me doing camera work one hand and hot wire cutter with the other, but I'm willing to give it a go if you're willing to bear with me as I try and do multiple functions simultaneously. So for this Woodland Scenics, the on is this button here, and it just goes down to a DC power supply as shown there. Now the wire won't get red hot, but it will get hot enough that it'll cut the phone. Now the wire is under tension. I don't know if you'll be able to see that very well. No, it's not really showing up, but the wire is under a bit of tension due to the U forks. So we'll just give it a go. Now, as I mentioned in a previous video, this pink foam is not meant for hot wire cutting. The Woodland Scenics white foam down there is formulated from what I've been able to understand without some of the nastier stuff that's in here. So it is okay to hot foam cut that stuff, not okay to hot foam cut this stuff. So I'm only doing a very short bit, and that's all I'm doing for today because it's freezing rain outside at the moment, and I'm not really wanting to open up all the windows. So I'm just going to do this stretch, and then that'll be it for today, and then I'll do a little bit up there, tomorrow or Tuesday as time allows. So let's give it a try. So I've got the activation down, and you can see it starting to smoke from the residue that's on there, hopefully. And I'm just going to line it up against the two rails and make a cut. Now, depending on how tight you've got that wire on there, it may pop off one of the U's. I've had that happen before. Another issue is the wire's heating up like a light bulb filament. So you can actually have it stretch and actually snap, because the warmest point will be probably in the center of the wire. But this is about as fast as I can cut it based on the foam resistance and the heat of the wire. You don't want the wire extremely hot, otherwise instead of just melting a path for the wire to push through, it will actually burn, heat it up so much you'll get holes, so to speak, forming from the melt. So far, not a whole lot of smoke, and there you can see it kind of rising up and melting a little bit there. I'm only hitting a little bit of the surface, and that should finish off, because there should be a dip there, and that's it. So let's see if I can put this down, and there is the thin strip. So if you've got a guide, you can get fairly good. That's probably about a 1/16 of an inch at the edge there before it finished off, but it gives a fairly nice cut. Now I'm going to shift this clamp down so that I can get in there and just tidy that a little bit up. But for the most part, that is foam cutting. So hopefully, for those who have not experienced it, that was a helpful little bit of a tutorial. And as I mentioned, you don't really immediately smell the odor from using a hot knife or a hot wire on this foam while you're doing it. But then as soon as you start moving around the room, it'll hit you. So good ventilation is definitely warranted when doing any hot foam cutting, especially when you're contouring a big block of foam. Yeah, I'm just starting to get the odor now, so I'm actually going to sign off now at this point and BD retreat out of the room, because I don't need to be breathing this stuff in. So I'll sign off for now, and we'll see you on the next video.